Hello there. That's a really bad intro, Dalton. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Some Idiot's Garage. My name's Dalton. I'm the idiot in question. Some call me the Nickelberry in Chief. Today, we're working on the Chevelle. Front upper control arm bushings. They suck, right? They're awful, as well as ball joints. So today we're going to do both. We're going to attempt to get as much of it done as possible before I lose the light. I've been very lazy, and it's already afternoon. So I wasted a lot of time. Now let's try and make up for that. Let me put my cool new mic, new toys and stuff. You know, I'm upgrading my equipment. Let me put this down and pop the hood, and I'll show you guys what we're getting ready to deal with, because it's going to be a lot of fun. So buckle up. I'm definitely going to have the time of my life out here fucking with this shit. Definitely. 100%. All right. I think that intro works. All right. So let me get my pointer. I'm sure this camera angle is going to be super flattering for me. So, suspension bushings and stuff. They're actually important. I know. I didn't really believe it either, but turns out they are. This is your upper control arm, and this is where one of the bushings is. This one's still got one. That one is Bluetoothed. It just doesn't exist. Now, that might not seem like the biggest deal in the world, but trust me, it is, right? You're going to get lots of, let me get this fixed. You're going to get lots of clunking and like bad noises. And there's also kind of a possibility that the whole front of your suspension is just going to start falling apart. Like your ball joints, all that other stuff, right? Like when one of the things is wrong, it puts undue strain on all the other things, and that makes things break. If that scientific explanation makes sense to you, cool. I would rather not have the wheel fall off at 50 miles an hour, so I'm going to replace it. I'm going to fix it. I've got new ball joints, and I've got new control arm bushings, and there's a siren and a helicopter and a Harley Davidson over there, so hopefully this new mic's doing what it's supposed to do. Anyway, who's and how. Jesus Christ, somebody's having a bad day over there. Anyway, I guess the moral of this is, if you see weird or hear weird things happening with your front suspension or your suspension in general, check it out. Don't just leave it until everything kind of catastrophically fails, especially if it's like a stressed member. So the control arm is the upper seat for your front coils if you're dealing with an A-body like me, right? And those are scary. So actually do shit correctly, I guess. I can't believe I just said that. That's not like me. So the process for this repair, I'm all over the place, and I'm sorry about that. Process for this repair is going to be get the car in the air, remove the wheel, and then break the ball joint free from the lower control arm, and then safely separate them, which is going to be fun. Hopefully I'm going to be able to show you guys how to do that and then how to remove that ball joint. So let me get the jack up, let me get the wheel off, and then I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. Cool? Cool. Okay, wheel is off. You guys are under the car. How's it feel? So this is your upper control arm. This is the bushing that's bad that I'm going to replace. This is your upper ball joint, and it's held in place to your knuckle here with that castle nut and that cotter key. So the process is really simple. I'm going to bend and pry and swear and curse and get that cotter key out. Take a couple threads off that castle nut, but I'm going to keep it attached. Then I'm going to get my pickle fork, which is a really fun name for a giant piece of steel with a forked end on it. You smash it in between the spindle and your upper control arm, and you beat on it with Thor's cock or some other appropriately sized hammer until this thing comes loose, right? It's gonna, because of the coil right here, it's gonna want to slam the spindle and the lower control arm down really hard. That's why you leave a couple threads on the castle nut after you got it free. That way that will catch it. Then you can take your jack, bring it under your lower control arm, push it up a little bit, get some pressure back off that upper ball joint, undo the nut, the capsule nut, and then you can safely lower the lower control arm, letting all the pressure out of the coil with your floor jack, and it should either just drop right out or just hang out here in the frame. It's not going to explode or hurt you. These aren't one-piece coilovers, and they're not designed to hold pressure once you lower that control arm that far. So that's it. That's pretty much the process. I don't know if the camera's got enough battery to hang out while I do the whole thing, but that's what I'm going to do. Cool. Gotta love cotter keys. There we go. Fuck. That hurt. There we go. That just flew off to Narnia. That's okay, I've got another one. Oh, boys. First try. You would think that as soon as I loosen this up, this is going to want to come down, right? There's gravity and the spring. Like, this whole assembly isn't light. You would think that this would want to just fucking snap and let go, but you would be wrong. Grease, rust, and force of habit are very powerful natural forces in the automotive world, and they hold things really, really, really tight. So I could probably wail on this for hours and not get that spindle to let the ball joint go. Sorry, my brain had to buffer for a second, had to make my way past all the smooth spots where the wrinkles are. All right, so this capsule nut's down a couple threads, but it's still all the way on this upper ball joint. You can see like nothing's really shifted at all. I'm gonna get my pickle fork in here and a whale on her pretty good. And my favorite part, hitting shit with a big ass hammer. Try and do this in a way, or I'm trying to do this in a way where I don't hurt these fancy new disc brakes that are on here. See that ball joint still attached, even after I wailed on it like that. You can still see the gap in that capsule nut. She's still on there. That's fine. We'll just beat on it some more. Oh, there she goes. You guys see that drop and come right up on that capsule nut again? She's free. See with that jack under there, I can go ahead and run. Lifted it up just a smidge, just to take the pressure off this ball joint, so I can run this capsule nut all the way out. Safely, and now I can lower the jack and the spindle will come on out of there. There she goes. All right. Now, yeah, so you can hear that? That's fucked up. How fucked up is fucked up? That's fucked up. See? It's not supposed to make that noise. But she's free from the spindle. So this can hang out and be absolutely in the way like this in a massive danger. It's fine. We're not worried about that. Now it's time to get the control arm out of the car. So if you look in here, we can see where our control arm is mounted to the frame. That's how that sentence is supposed to go. It's actually mounted over here, kind of interferes with the steering. There are 2 bolts here and here that you undo, and this rod that's in the back of the control arm comes out, and the whole thing, the whole assembly comes out. The issue, one of the issues, is if you look right there, you'll see that there are shims. That is your front alignment. That is how they align these cars. I really do not want to pay to get this thing aligned. Again, I think I paid somebody to align it recently. So I'm going to keep those shims in the orientation that they're at in the car on the frame. I'm going to keep them together. I'm not going to mess with the stacks at all. I'm just going to undo those 2 bolts so that the control arm can come far enough out that I can get the shims out safely without fucking with them. And then I'm going to pull the rest of the control arm out. It's really simple. It's 2 bolts. So I'm going to do that, save on the Magic Recorder Cube lightning juice, and I'll pick you guys up whenever the control arm's out and I'm ready to start drilling and wailing and beating and heating on it. Or unless I run into another big snag. We'll see which one happens first. So, cool. All right, so we're good. We got it out. As you can probably tell, it was a bit more of a fight than I thought it was going to be. Getting these fucking things out was a bit of a bitch. They interfered on their spot in the frame with the steering column, so I couldn't get the upper shaft of that control arm out of here without like hitting this. So I had to remove the bolts, and even though I was able to get the nuts off the bolts, so there was literally nothing but 50 years worth of friendship and rust and force of habit holding the bolts into the frame, they still gave me one fuck of a fight, right? They defeated the Harbor Freight impact. I had to get El Cheapo out, threw my back out, just fucking hauling on that breaker bar, and they still didn't really want to do anything. So that's great. Love to see it. I did win the fight, however. Just lots of WD specialist penetrant later. Apparently this works better. And determination, and it is out, and the control arm is on the bench. Now there are 2 things that are alarming to me right off the bat. One of them is that on this side, where the bushing, again, decided to go wireless, the bolt that was supposed to hold this in is gone, and I don't have another one of those. So hopefully, when I pull this out, because the other side's obviously still there, hopefully when I've got that bit, I can match it to something I've got floating around the garage, or I can go find something that's going to be the right size and thread pitch. Because otherwise, I get to go buy things. The other semi-alarming bit is when I was getting mad and breaking stuff, the sheer force of my frustration knocked some of my stuff off the wall. And I noticed this. And if you're observant, that is a brand new control rod bushing, or this thing per control arm bushing, that's not in the car, and a stock upper control arm shaft that's also not in the car. Reminded me that I did this on the other side a couple months ago, almost a year ago now, and had to use an aftermarket control arm shaft, and I don't remember why. I don't remember why I had to do it. I remember I bought the bushings and I bought the new ball joint, and then I had to go buy a new one of these. This might be why, which is awesome. So, you know, hopefully I can make it work. Hopefully. So anyway, any who's and how, let me walk you guys through how I'm going to proceed. I've got it hooked up in my bench vise in this way specifically because we're going to do the ball joint first. Believe it or not, it's easier than messing with these control arm bushings. There's about 50 years worth of dirt and dried up grease and other gunk caked on here. So we're going to hit it with the whiz wang and get this all cleaned off, right? This is, or was at one point, a grease fitting. And then you can kind of see these bumps here. Those are the rivets holding the upper ball joint housing to this control arm, right? The new ones are threaded, right? That's one of the nice things about Chevy control arms or ball joints, excuse me, is that you don't have to press them at all. Like they come in a pre-pressed into a housing. You can just bolt them to your control arm. The thing is, we need to drill out the old rivets, the old original rivets, so that we can put the new hardware in, which is going to be a bit of a process. So I'm going to clean it, and then I've got actually a proper center punch and a big boy plug-in drill and some drill bits, and I'm going to go to town trying to get this out of here. This is probably going to be a fucking fight. So I'm going to see how long the camera lasts, see if I can't hook you guys up, and get rolling on it. This is probably going to be, hopefully I can get this ball joint out before I lose the light. And I've got to start packing up for the evening because I'm slammed the rest of this weekend and the rest of this week, I think. So that's enough talking about it. Let's get to being about it. Alrighty. Because we're just cleaning right now, I'm just going to use the little guy. I don't want to deal with tripping over wires just yet. All right. All right. As you can see, that is significantly cleaner. It's going to make it a lot easier for me to get the drill on these 4 rivets and see what I'm doing to like really basically ruin their day, right? They're done. They've done their job. That ball joint's really gnarly. So we're going to drill them out and get ready to put the new one in. The idea here is you center punch center of one of these rivets. There we go. Come on, Dalton. English. And that way, when you're first trying to start a drill bit down one of these guys, it's got something to catch on, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So I'm just gonna try and find roughly the middle of this thing and then give her a good old smack. That was way off center. Good. That's even worse. Now the thought process is also that you start small and work big, right? It's easier to make a tiny hole, then it's easier to make a bigger hole than to try and make a big hole from the get-go. You got to step up to it, right? It's the whole reason why they make anal trainers. You can buy them on Amazon. Don't ask me how I know that or why I know that. This stuff will fuck you up in a hurry. This little metal stuff that's coming up off the drill. Yeah, that stuff hurts. So make sure that you're like safety squinting to the max. All right, you guys are kind of getting the idea, right? And then as soon as I get a hole pretty deep with this little guy, I will step up to a drill bit. That's approximately the size of the rivet. Once you get the rivet pretty much drilled all the way out to the base plate of this ball joint, you can flip it over and just start wailing on the ball joint with a hammer, preferably something that's big and heavy, and eventually it'll separate from the control arm, and then the new one just drops in and you bolt it together. Remember your Loctite. Okay, so I didn't show you guys me getting the ball joint out because it happened really fucking fast. Here it is. Came out absolutely no problem. All of those rivets here on the top side, they all just drilled out really easy. And there was like one that fought me a little bit. You can see that there's still some damage in there, but that's fine, right? It hasn't, shut up. It's my speaker over there. For copyright reasons, I've got to turn it off every single time I hit the record button. But anyway, did some damage. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. It's not, like, that's not going to affect the control arm's ability to, like, hold the control arm. So, I mean, the ball joint. So, what I'm going to do from here is, well, I cleaned it up really good. Hit it with the wire wheel again. Some bzz, bzz, and some brake clean, and now it's really, really pretty and shiny and good to go. I hit both sides. This is also why when I'm doing this, I leave the upper control arm shaft in, because it's just, if you've ever tried to put one of these control arms into a bench vise so that you can like do stuff with it, it's almost fucking impossible. So if you leave your old control arm shaft in, you can vise that. And then when you're messing with your ball joint, not only does it keep this nice and here for you so you can drill on a nice stable, so it bottoms out, on a nice stable like stopping point that's low, so all of your shit is going to hit the ground. You could put like a towel or a bucket down to catch all your shavings. I didn't because I'm a slob. But then if you need to come up here to mess with stuff, you can just literally just do what I just did and pull the control arm up and get on the underside and whatever. Oh, anyway, yeah, the big bit drilled through all of these rivets, absolutely no problem. I broke the bit on the one that's damaged. So what I did is got a hammer out, and that punch I used to start the whole thing with, I just punched the drilled rivets through. Just put the punch in the middle of the hole you've drilled and wail on it a couple times, and it'll send that rivet flying down out the other end. Ooh. Like this. Here's a really good example. Absolutely drilled out. Didn't even have to mess with the backside. Went flying. It's out of my way. Now, before I put the new ball joint in, I don't really like the bare metal hanging out here. These girls here, these control arms, they are not cheap. So what we're going to do is I've got a can of Krylon Color Max indoor outdoor. I bet that outdoor part means it's rated for, automotive suspension. And we're just gonna give her a couple quick coats. If I could get this fucking cap off, Jesus Christ. God, when did I become such a bitch? Oh, I glued it in there. That's why. Just broke that cap. All right, I'm just gonna give her some coats so that she doesn't rust. Hit it with some more brake clean, get the last of this grease and road gunk out of there. Dry it with a dirty towel. That's fine. Successful paint job starts with the prep. That's what all the pros say. This is me prepping. Look at that. Well, we got some spots there where it's been rubbing on. Oh, stuff I don't want to think about. And we'll just black paint right at my white walls. Overspray, never heard of her. All right. So I'm gonna let that do its thing. Well, it's doing its thing. Pretty sure this is the right part. It looks correct at the auto parts counter anyway. Yeah, that's gonna work just fine. So these are greasable fittings. This Masterwork was the cheapest upper ball joint I could get for my car. But yeah, that's the right size. and it's greasable. So I got a packet of grease gun fittings over there somewhere. I'm going to throw one in, and I'm going to pack the fuck out of this thing with some grease. I think I've still got a grease gun floating around somewhere. And then you just drop it in. I don't really think it makes much of a difference what direction your hardware goes. Just make sure that you actually use, oh, they give me a grease fitting. How nice of them. Just make sure you actually and a cotter key. Wow. This was a $10 kit. I didn't expect it to come with all this. Anyway. Just use Loctite. You don't, of all the things that you don't want coming flying off, it's suspension components. So even though these look like lock nuts, I'm still going to use a lot of, a whole fuckload of Loctite. Probably over torquilate it. Get it jammed on there, and then when this is on, then we can worry about starting to get that off. And that might be an absolute monster. I've got an air hammer, which makes it easier, but hopefully I'll be able to show you guys how I do this. Hopefully. Anyway, I'll be back in a flash. We'll get this taken care of. Done. All right, so unfortunately, I think that's where I'm gonna have to call it for tonight. I'm losing the light. The old lady got home from work. She wants to go eat some tacos and some 2-for-1 margs up the street. So I gotta go get unfuckered here, wipe some of the grease and hard work off my face, but that's okay. Didn't get to ripping the control arm bushings out and all that shit yet. That's fine. We're not, this is a marathon, not a race. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm gonna have to get back to this tomorrow or Friday or Wednesday or one of the other days that ends in Y. Try and figure out what the hell I'm doing. Okay, so it's a different day. I lost the daylight. The Magic Recorder Cube ran out of juice. I was out of gas. Whatever, right? It's been a little bit since the first half of that video. I got really, really sick. It got a lot colder out here. It happens. But we're back at it. When we left off, the ball joint got replaced, and now it's time to do the fun part, which is the control arm bushings and a new control arm rod shaft thing, whatever people call it. Alrighty, so we are gonna start here on the bad side, the side that's got the whole deletified bushing thing here, because it's just gonna be the easiest to get out with the shaft and the control arm. After it's out, then we can use our bushing puller kit tool thing to get this other good bushing out and get the new ones in. So I've already juiced it once with some good old WD. Let's just do that again. Make a big mess, get it all over my camera. Now, I'm gonna hit it with some heat again, right? I've already done this once or twice. Really trying to just get that penetrating oil to penetrate and do penetrating oil things. And then after this last time, when I get it really good and hot, then we're gonna hit it with the air hammer. Right, this is probably the cheapest air hammer ever invented, and I'm not really sure if it's hooked up right. We'll find out together. This turns into a weapon instead of a tool. What I'm really gonna just try and do is get it up in here like this and just bang, bang, bang. Get down in here too if I have to, because I'm not worried about saving this bushing or this shaft. I don't give a shit about both of them because I'm replacing them. Right, I've already got a new one of these. Oh, I've gotta remember to put my phone on silent. I already got a new one of these and a new one of these. It's the control arm that I'm worried about hurting. So as long as I don't fuck this up too bad with the hammer, we should be okay. And the air hammer should make this pretty darn easy. So I'm gonna set you guys up. I'm gonna get a fitting on my air hammer and we're gonna get started. I'm super dumb. Why am I even recording this? Watch me be an idiot and ruin my tools for half an hour. All right, so I've got updates. As you can see, the control arm shaft isn't here anymore. That's because it's over here. It was being in my way, and I really didn't want it to be in my way anymore. So I went and got the cheapest Zenzang thing that's probably ever been made. It was sitting in my red bucket over there. Forgot I owned it. And 5 minutes later, no more control shaft in the way. I don't know what YouTube's policy is on smoking. I really hope they're not going to suppress the whole 12 videos I'm planning to get from this, because I'm having a cigarette right now. Oh well. Let's do this. This is what I was talking about with that ball joint earlier. Man, there's like no good way to get these things clamped in here once that shaft is gone. All right. Yeah. That'll work, pig. That'll work. Let's throw that on there like that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but here we go. So I've got my handle, the chase, and then my little nut bolt thing here. And I'm just gonna wail on it, maybe with the big hammer, maybe pull the air hammer back out, but this should get this moving, hopefully. Let's try manual first. It's moving. And I'm not even able to hit it that hard on account of the cancer, you see. Will this work better? Boom, just like that. All right, now we just gotta flip her around, do the other side. Shouldn't be that hard. Let me know what you guys think of this tripod setup that I've got. It's new. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just trying to raise the production value around here, you know what I mean? This mini sledge has come in handy for fucking everything, dude. So right now I'm just trying to push this, like the actual rubber bit out, this guy, and its little metal inner core. So I can get the big bushing thing in there. I'm gonna break my hand doing this, aren't I? I am. I've got a solution to this problem. Well, come on now. Don't make me pour lighter fluid on you. I will. I've done dumber shit. This house is insured, same with everything else in it. It's amazing how quickly that went from a sort of okay bushing to a really not good bushing really quickly. Fire does that. All right. Now that I'm gonna burn my hand, let's try that again. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Fire fixes everything. Everything. Fire and a big fucking hammer. When your WD-40 starts to boil, that's when you know you're really good and hot. Just about ready. Let's throw this guy on here like this. Let's get to whaling. It's like I thought, that busted part of the bushing's fighting me here. Like that. 10 minutes flat. Control arm bushings out. Isn't it amazing what just heat and a big fucking hammer will do? Whew, that's hot. So the new control arm bushings are in the freezer because it makes science work for you instead of against you. So when metal's cold, it contracts. And we want it as small as possible to get those bushings back into this control arm. So it's going to make it a little easier. Hopefully, if I come back and reheat these, it'll make it even easier, right? If these things are already hot and those things are really cold, they should go in pretty decently. You really shouldn't do what I'm probably going to end up doing, which is after I get the top bushing in, because I'm going to do this one first, I'm going to put the new shaft in and secure one side, and then when I do the other one, I can then do a wrench here and an impact on the bottom and just ugga-dugga the other bushing in if I need to. So beat this one in from the top and then ugga-dugga the other one in. The new shafts are different, and I think it makes it a bit safer to do that method. You still run the risk of, I guess, bending your control arm, but whatever, right? It'll still fit. The old style, this is the one I cut off, there was a bolt that went through the center like that, right? And that's what held the bushings on. That is probably why I've had the same exact failure on both control arms, now that I think about it. One of those nuts or bolts backed off and you lost the cap, and then the control shaft does this and it just completely eats away the bushing until it doesn't exist anymore. The new replacement style have got a much sturdier like rod shaft thing, and it's threaded with a big ass lock nut that goes over top of it. So in my opinion, this is an improvement over the factory design, and it should make it a lot safer for us to just ugga-dugga these bushings into place. All right, so I've been sitting here heating this thing long enough that my arm's getting tired of holding this thing up. It's probably hot enough. I got my tool ready. My hammer's right there. I'm gonna drop it, run in, grab the cold bushing out of the freezer. Let's see what we can make happen here. Well, that failed. She started. All right, so let me show you what I got going on, because I worked kind of fast, surprisingly. This is the other side. This is the other bearing. This is the first one you guys saw me beat in using the socket. This one was much the same. I just wailed on it. Now, I got this guy here sitting as a test, because again, I'm about half an inch off here. This one's mostly seated. I think there might be like a millimeter or so off here, and it probably moved a little bit while I was wailing on stuff in here. But I got that one all the way down, just getting out all my anger with Thor's cock and an oversized socket. This one, you want to get far enough that you can get at least 3 threads for your bolt on here. And if you can look, the camera will focus. I don't know. You're going to have to trust me. There's 3 threads with this cap visible here. And that's what I'm comfortable with, using the old Ugga machine to force that thing the rest of the way down. So I'm going to find a wrench and a socket and the Ugga, and I'm going to get set up and get this guy tightened up. And then it's time to get it back in the car. 13, 1 inch, 15 16ths. Do you guys know that John Deere made wrenches? I didn't either, but they're really nice. See if I can do this without stripping this bad boy off. I didn't really go too hard. You already saw a whole bunch of compression happening with the sleeve down on the rubber here. We haven't even moved the bushing yet, but I've caught enough threads. I think I'll be okay. Well, that's concerning. So the control arm flexed a little bit and just flexed back out. I don't know if you guys saw it on camera. But the bushing didn't want to move at all. So that's great. That's fantastic. So I guess we're just going to go back to beating on it. Because like, look at this. Also, by the way, speaking of these John Deere wrenches, how many wrenches do you know that you can just leave by themselves unsupported and they just stay? Like, that's awesome. And there we have it. Throwing shit on the ground. That is good enough for government work. All right. Done. All righty, folks. Here we go. She's in, she's done. Look at that. No gaps. Didn't warp it too bad, hopefully. But she's in. New ball joints, new shaft, new bushings. All that's left to do is put it in the car, and you essentially just do what I did to take it out of the car, but in reverse. I've been informed by many a good Instagram user that the bolts that hold this guy to the frame are supposed to be splined, and the little bracket on the frame keeps those bolts captive for alignment purposes. Mine are not splined. I looked, felt like they were, because they were stuck in there pretty good, but they're not. I don't know where they're at right now. I think I left them on the air cleaner, but they weren't. So at some point, somebody replaced the splined bolts with non-splined. Probably lost them or broke them or whatever. So it shouldn't be too big a deal. The install shouldn't be that hard. Just do everything in reverse. And then the car is good. This was the last big hiccup keeping the car from like getting back into the daily driver routine. So I was dailying it, and then it started making this weird suspension noise. Noise fixed. So I think that's going to about do it for me for today. Hope you guys got something out of this. I've got no idea how long this video is going to be. This tripod makes it really easy to just record into the future without really keeping an eye on how much time has elapsed. So this might be an hour long. This might be 20 minutes long. I'm not sure yet. I'm also not sure if this was a how-to video or not. I don't know. But it was a video, and I hope you guys liked it. If you did, drop me a like or follow or subscribe or all the other things YouTubers are supposed to say. I have been Dalton, some idiot with a wrench. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.